day.
And we know cleaning their teeth can be a real hassle. That's why new Dentabone is the easy way to routinely clean your dog's teeth. Clinically proven, tartar reducing, better tasting. New Pedigree Dentabone. Pedigree for healthy teeth.
Grow! You call yourself a pumpkin? Look at your brother! You could be a champion, but you gotta want it!
The biggest, the best, the countryest. The Royal, November 3rd to 12th. Tickets on sale now.
Good weekend?
So
Good.
you?
Went to Vegas, booked with Expedia.ca.
What'd you do?
Got together with some old buddies, had a couple of drinks, great dinner, stayed in the sweetest hotel room, won a few bucks, went to the Wax Museum, saw some crazy acrobatic stream magic show, got freaky to Wicked Club, took a helicopter to the Grand Canyon, did a little shopping, went out at 11 p.m., got at 11 a.m., had a shiatsu massage, visited the Hoover Dam, went off-roading in the desert, met my future wife and got married.
Expedia.ca presents the fabulous Las Vegas extravaganza. With so many options, book your Vegas trip with ease. Expedia.ca. Your trip, your way.
CBC congratulates all of our 2006 Gemini Award nominees.
He says emphatically, explicitly, and on the floor of the Commons that he didn't call Belinda Stronach a dog. Thank God we're a serious nation.
While our soldiers are offering their lives for the service of our country, our federal MPs are in serious debate about Peter MacKay's apparent dog comment. Our MPs should be ashamed. Barbara Fricker, Ottawa. Peter MacKay put his foot in it with his flippant smart-ass retort. The opposition has rolled in it by trying to spin MacKay's remark into a federal case. The media has wallowed in it by trying to make this dog business into news. Basically, Ottawa has gone to the dogs. Canada is not amused. Dave Donnelly, Powell River, BC.
Some of your thoughts on Rex's thoughts last night. Now, let's get the national weather forecast. Claire Martin joins us. Claire.
Thanks very much, Peter. We're talking about more in the way of wet weather, I'm afraid, for the west coast, as yet another wave of moisture slides its way in off the Pacific. The central coast today picking up upwards of around 100 millimetres, and there's probably another 100 over the next couple of days. Meanwhile, the Prairie Province is not too bad, although that little system may set off some sleety snow showers in the western foothills of Alberta. 15 degrees in Vancouver tomorrow and Victoria. Temperatures showing a slight downward trend through the remaining Prairie Provinces. Winnipeg, a high tomorrow of 8, today 14 degrees. Into the eastern half of the country, and finally some clearer, sunnier weather building its way into the Maritimes, but there is a large system sliding its way up from the central plains of the United States that will bring wet and possibly white weather for the weekend. Southern Ontario, northeastern Ontario, and then into Quebec. But let's back up into Friday. 8 degrees in Thunder Bay, 8 degrees in Toronto. A fair amount of sunshine showing up finally in Ottawa and Montreal and building into the Maritimes, although the skies will be slow to clear. PEI in Nova Scotia. St. John's coming in with some sunshine and a daytime high of around 8 degrees. That's your latest forecast. Peter, back to you.
All right, Claire, thanks. Now, here's a preview of something we'll have for you tomorrow.
I'm Red Sharon. Join me on The National for a journey to Canada's most northerly community. Meet Larry Audlaluk. He's lived in Grise Fiord longer than anyone else. A government experiment sent him here with his family over 50 years ago.
We suffered the 2 years living in tent.
For his father, the isolation was too much to bear.
I think he died of a broken heart.
But from those hardships rose a community that survives and thrives less than 1,600 kilometers from the North Pole. The town on top of the world, tomorrow on The National.
That's The National for this Thursday night. Remember, for news anytime, go to our website. The address is cbc.ca. And for all the major overnight developments, start your day with CBC Radio's World Report. I'm Peter Mansbridge. For the latest on today's top stories, turn now to News World for the full hour of The National. But coming up right away on most CBC stations, George Stroumboulopoulos and The Hour.
Because she looked at him in that cage and hadn't been able to resist. Let's go, Sam. And for Pete's sake, shut up.
Hey, Strumbo.
Hey, Paul, what's happening, man?
Not too much. Say, do you have those conjoined twins in the show tonight?
The conjoined twin... No, Paul, we don't.
Okay, see you tomorrow.
But we're talking about Paris Hilton and her sex life.
Okay, I'm back.
This is The Hour. I'm only going to go over this once, so here we go. Tonight, an athlete like none you've ever seen before. Toronto Argonaut Ricky Williams is here. Competitors like you've never seen. Kenny versus Spenny at the newsstand.
Every culture wanted to see someone's testicles out.
Let me ask you a question. Are black pro athletes just well-paid slaves?
Slavery is one of those jarring metaphors, but it's a lot more appropriate than people might think.
We'll get into that. Plus, the top athletes who threw it all away and the holy trinity of rock and roll. It's Black Sabbath, The Clash, and Nick Carter. Oh, God, kill me. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Come on in and welcome to another edition of The Hour. It was nice to see you. I'll be your buddy George Stroumboulopoulos. I hope you had a lovely day. How was your day? I woke up in my motorcycle gear this morning because I went home last night after the show and didn't have heat. So if you're with me out there, if your furnace broke, I want to say hell yeah and screw the company that wouldn't come and fix your furnace. Unbelievable. I was so unsexy last night. I guess there's a problem with that because it implies that I am sexy other nights, which I'm not. But last night you should have seen me. I'm in bed wearing my same outfit that I wore on the air because I went home wearing my jacket and my furnace was broken. So I kept my jacket on. I started to add layers. So I had this full motorcycle winter gear on and a hat and some scarf. And I was so cold, my cats wouldn't come near me. They wouldn't even share their stupid body heat with me. Ungrateful bastards. Both of them. Regardless, and then so I decided, you go, why don't you just go check into a hotel? Because there was none available. I felt like Jesus. Minus all the good stuff that he had said to have done. Okay, so I felt like the other guy then. It's going to be a good show tonight. I'll tell you something. Obviously I work here at CBC, and for some of you, perhaps you've seen what I've done when I worked at Much Music, and I used to work in radio in Toronto. One of my first jobs, it might have been my second job, was at a sports radio station in the city of Toronto called the Fan 590, and I had the opportunity, the pleasure, and the dismay to talk to a lot of athletes. I will say this. Interviewing athletes hasn't always been the most satisfying thing. It's almost as unsatisfying as interviewing politicians. They're generally less satisfying because they say less. But athletes, they didn't get into this game to be media superstars. A lot of them just want to play. And it's very tough to talk about because of all the cliches. But every now and then you come across an athlete who says the sort of things that, for lack of a better phrase, they kind of blow your mind. Like they really do. Ricky Williams says the kinds of things that you sit there and go, my God, and you're a football player? Because most football players don't open up that much. Most pro athletes don't. Most men don't open up that way. But Ricky Williams does, and Ricky Williams is going to join us tonight. I'm really looking forward to that conversation. You may know Ricky from the Toronto Argonauts, or of course, from your Miami Dolphins. Now, in terms of, the competitive nature of sport, sport is like playing with, with your easy bake oven compared to the competitive nature of these two guys, Kenny versus Spenny. You know Kenny versus Spenny? They got issues, but they're so good at their issues, and they work them out on each other. And both Kenny and Spenny are on the program tonight. We take them to the newsstand. There's a whole bunch more to get you caught up, including Paris Hilton. It's a bizarre Paris Hilton story, and one that involves a Backstreet Boy. But first, the more serious stuff, but the stuff you need to know. It's Mile a Minute. Okay, so let's start right here with the Canadian military. Love our soldiers. You know how they were supposed to be in pretty good shape to join the forces? Well, not anymore. The military has dropped the fitness test that it used on new recruits to try to get more people to sign up. What was the fitness test? Well, you used to have to be able to do 19 push-ups, 19 sit-ups, and run a couple of kilometers in an acceptable period of time. Now? Well, now you just have to lift a pencil, fill out a form, and get a physical. And if you fail the physical, well, you get in anyway. A trainer just whips you into shape. Now, this might make me a little worried for the military, because if you can't do 19 push-ups or 19 sit-ups, forget the Army. Go see a doctor. Oh, and for the record, I should go see the doctor, too. U.S. Vice President Dick Cheney on Fox News. There's a forum for the truth, my friends. Cheney told Fox he will not run for president in 2008.
If nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve.
Of course, if there's still a war going on, I'm sure he'll find a way to make money for Halliburton. By the way, on the subject of the 2008 elections, Cheney added this.
I think Hillary Clinton's a formidable candidate. She could win. I think she could win.
What? What, is he helping the other team out? Keep this in mind. This is the same guy who said everything in Iraq doing just fine. Oh, yeah, like totally run Hillary. We can never beat Hillary. Middle America would love her. Watch out, Democrats. This has got to be a trap. Speaking of elections, by the way, you know the congressional races going on in America right now? You hear a lot of people talking about them. They're called the midterm elections. Well, there is a new report out by this nonpartisan group which says they could be the most costly elections in U.S. history. Take a second to think, oh, no, wait. Let's go back to 2000 and 2004, and now take a look at the state of the world. Yeah, perhaps those were the most costly elections in U.S. history. And finally, from Big Bang to, Big Bang. Remember North Korea's nuclear test? How could we forget? It's all over the frickin' news. Well, everybody in South Korea got on their knees. Now, we thought it was to pray. Turns out, not so much. Because condom sales in South Korea have gone way up since the nuke test. So did bookings, by the way, at a pay-by-the-hour love hotel. Well, I'm not exactly sure what kind of love gets paid for by the hour, but whatever, who am I to judge? What's really the moral of the story here? Just like Justin Timberlake, Kim Jong-il is bringing sexy back. Get your sexy on. I love that. There's a spokesperson who came out and said that in times of stress, the need to procreate is what everybody feels. I don't think it's the procreation that they're looking for. I don't think they're trying to get more kids. It's just kind of like, well, I said if you were the last man on earth, I guess I have to live up to it, which is essentially what's going on. That's amazing. Condom sales and motel rent. Maybe there is hope for the world. Maybe Kim Jong-il does have a master plan. I want to tell you, though, about something that happens with politics here that has nothing to do with nukes, but it certainly has to do with overreaction and kind of freaking out. You know, in America, they run these ads, these attack ads. People go all crazy because they say horrible things. Well, there's a Senate election ad in Tennessee, a guy named Bob Corker, he's a Republican candidate, who's going after Democratic candidate Harold Ford. These two guys don't like each other. If you ever see Corker and Ford on television, it's like you want to walk in there and punch them both in the lip, because they're wasting everybody's time. Well, now Corker's got this ad with a bunch of fake streeters, and keep watching it because he talks about you partway through it.
Harold Ford looks nice. Isn't that enough? Terrorists need their privacy.
When I die, Harold Ford will let me pay taxes again.
Ford's right. I do have too many guns.
I met Harold at the Playboy party.
I'd love to pay higher marriage taxes.
Canada can take care of North Korea. They're not busy.
So we took money from porn movie producers. I mean, who hasn't?
The Republican National Committee is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Harold, call me.
Yo. Hey, now there's an attack ad for you, my friends. Canada can take care of North Korea because we're not that busy. It's actually a very funny ad, and it's clearly a joke ad. They're not actually saying that as to be the case. However, there's a member of the Canadian government, and the Canadian government have filed a complaint. They have filed, I mean, listen, we expect certain people to not have a sense of humor, like Kazakhstan with Borat, but the truth is, we're usually the ones with no sense of humor whatsoever. They filed a complaint. You can't take it seriously. Not even if you're from Tennessee. But by the way, you know how it is with Canada. We get either very excited or very angry every time our name gets mentioned in America. You can just watch the news channels every night going, the good news, Canada, tonight will be mentioned in the second half of The Simpsons. On Bart's way over to Alaska. And everything gets freaked out. The ad is getting phased out. The newspapers are saying that it's not clear if it's because the Canadians complained about it. No, it's not. Okay, that's not why they're phasing it. They don't care. Everybody, relax for just a bit. I want to move now to our first guest of the program, who does get a lot of criticism, certainly, and certainly a lot of controversy. This guy, former NFL star, now in the CFL with the Argos, more than 7,000 yards rushing in just 7 seasons, 47 NFL touchdowns, but you get the sense that no matter how good he is, football doesn't really rule his life. He's candid, he's philosophical, he's spiritual, he's controversial. He's Ricky Williams. He'll be here in a minute, but first, the bio. Okay, Ricky Williams. Not your average football player. In fact, way above average.
Williams breaks a hole. Williams, hello, record book.
He won the Heisman Trophy, which is best player in college. One of the NFL's top rushers. Dun, 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 dun. No stranger to controversy either. So imagine this, 2004, at the peak of his career, Ricky Williams retires. Why? Well, not because of 1 or 2, but say it with me, 3 failed drug tests.
It's hard to test someone more than 10 times a month. I mean,
all reportedly a bit of the marijuana. Guy walked out on a $5 million contract just 2 days before the start of training camp, and his decision shocked the Miami Dolphins, because without Williams, well, the Fish won just 4 games that season. He was called a quitter by some of his teammates. So, what's up with the drugs? Well, Williams is a victim of what he describes as a social anxiety disorder. He actually was once a spokesperson for GlaxoSmithKline's Paxil, and he's openly admitted to using marijuana to relieve his symptoms. He said that he retired to spare himself the public humiliation, and that leaving football was the best thing he's ever done. But as it turned out, he owed the Miami Dolphins $8 million for breach of contract, and he also failed a 4th drug test. The National Football League suspended him, so for now, he's in Toronto playing for the Argonauts. There you go. There's the man, and here's the man. Ricky Williams, how are you?
Fine. How are you doing?
Very well. Nice to see you.
Could I get some water?
Yeah, we can totally get some water. We'll get some water for Mr. Ricky Williams. How's it going so far this season, Ken? How have you enjoyed it?
I've enjoyed myself. I think when people talk about fun or getting enjoyment, a lot of that is based on what their preconceived notions or what they expect from the situation. Mm-hmm. And I think I came here with an open mind, ready to learn about myself and ready to live life, and that's what I've done, and it's been a great experience.
Well, and that's what it is. It's not about what happens on the football field for you, and is it?
Well, I think that's part of it. Obviously, I think anytime you have a job, you always feel better when you're having success at work. That's part of life, but it's been about living. You know, I had a little girl on September 6th. It was a great experience, and I think being in Canada, I've had more of an opportunity to live my own life and not have to deal with the NFL and people bothering me. People in Toronto have been wonderful, supportive.
What do you mean by bothering you? Like, what happens when you're down there?
Well, I shouldn't say bothering me. I just mean, you know, like in the States, if I go to a mall, it's a big deal. Or if I walk down the street, it's a big deal. And here, you know, I live downtown and I can walk to the corner store. You know, I'm a regular person.
And do they know they walk by and go, "Hey, Ricky," and that's it, let you be?
Yeah, even like, you know, I never knew these people knew who I was, but the guy who works at the corner store, he said hi and he said he wanted an autograph for his son. Yeah. But it was so, like, I was surprised that he even knew who I was. And,
you know, it's this thing that you know, there's so many people try so hard to do this for a living, and because they have an idea of what they think it is. You know, I mean, to make the NFL, sure, you got talent and you're born with that, but you have to work really hard to be good enough to be on the level that you are, to play in the National Football League. So did you have a different idea of what it was going to be like before you made it there?
I think everyone does. I think it's impossible to know what something is going to be like, and we guess a lot, but we're usually not right. It's usually different than what we expected, and so it was different than what I expected. And I think growing up and as a kid, I think I was very naive. Mm-hmm. I think I'm still naive in certain ways, but I like that about myself. And so I was disillusioned a little bit, and you know, the NFL wasn't everything that I thought it would be, and I realized that it is hard work, you know, and it's not about fun, it's not about doing what you want, it's not about freedom, it's about working hard. And anytime you want to be successful in life, really it's just about working hard. And it's a lesson that I'm very fortunate to have learned at a relatively young age, but I'm very thankful for it.
You know, when you left, you were attributed, we talked about this, that it was the your best decision for you, for your life to leave football. So why'd you come back?
Well, I think I've been asked that question a lot, and I think...
Was it the $5 million, was it the millions of dollars that you would, or $8 million breach of contract? Is that the reason? Or?
Well, I think if you really understand what life is about, it's never ever one thing that makes you make a decision. It's all about confluence, you know?
Yeah.
And if you ever are able to take a step back at your life and look at things, you'll see that the way that your life is organized, there's always confluence here or confluence there, telling you to go this way or go that way. What happens is that we get emotionally attached to things and we're not able to be objective, so we make bad decisions. But I think if you're able to be objective, you can say the confluence of my life is saying that this is a better road for me to go in, or this is a better road for me to go in. And I think I've worked so hard to be more objective and not take life so seriously that I can look at my life and I can make better decisions because I can see the confluence that's already there.
Yeah, but you're playing football here now.
Right.
And so was it now, when we first heard the story of you playing here, you know, all kinds of speculation. One was so you can stay in shape to play next year when you go back to the NFL. What are your reasons for playing here?
Again, it's just confluence.
But what are some of those reasons then? Because I mean, this is the Heisman Trophy winner. You have this stuff going on, and so much controversy. You seem to like your life, or certainly live your life the way you want, way more when you're away from all of this.
Well, I think that's a misconception. I think when you talk about me, people think, you know, that I quit football to go smoke marijuana and travel the world.
Which is a good enough reason.
Wait, but don't get me wrong. I did those things, but I was looking for myself. I wasn't partying. I wasn't going out hanging out. I was really looking for myself. I mean, considering I was doing those things, I've read more than I ever read in my whole life. I started to really ask questions about life. I really grew as a person in that time. And so when I came back, I was a much better person.
Well, and what's so interesting about your... Yeah, go ahead. No, say that.
I was a much better person, and part of that was I realized that I couldn't live life the way that I wanted to live, that I had to have some sort of structure. Yeah. And so I put structure into my life, and now I think... The past is the past, but I think for the most part, I'm a very structured person. Like, I value structure, and that's very important to me. And I find that when you have structure and you can be objective, that's the only true freedom.
You say a lot of things that people feel. Like, you feel a lot of things that most people feel, including a lot of your teammates, not just here in Toronto, but when you play in the States as well. But the difference between you and them is you actually vocalize it. You tell people, and in the game of football, and I've interviewed many athletes and a lot of football players, they generally don't put themselves out as an individual. It's like the old proverb, right? The protruding nail gets hammered down. And I can imagine when you came back to Miami and walked into that dressing room and everybody said all the things they'd said about you, you had said the things that you had said. How do they take you, like, how do they look at you when you walk in that room?
Well, I think from the outside, you see, again, there's a picture of me being a certain way, but I think anyone who knows me and who has spent time with me, and any of my teammates, there's always a certain level of respect there because of the way that I work, the way that I carry myself, that I don't yell at anyone, I don't have any fights, I don't have any disagreements, and I'm very, like, there's a lot of controversy, but in reality, I'm very just like a teddy bear. I'm harmless, you know, and they realize that.
You know, there was in the paper, Dick Pound always talks about the drugs in every sport. He talked about the CFL. CFL has no drug testing. You know, that's something that I'm sure you get asked about a lot these days because you had that situation down there.
Well, I think someone tried to ask me about it, but I cut them off, and I said I don't read the papers. I've only been here for a year. You know, probably won't be here next year. Really, what does my opinion mean? You know.
Well, but you're an athlete that people look up to. I mean, and it is your area of expertise, professional athletics.
Well, not necessarily. Just because I play football doesn't mean it's my area of expertise.
Well, but you have, you know, you failed drug tests for the NFL. That's part of the reason you're suspended, though, right?
But it doesn't mean it's my expertise, though.
Right.
I mean, you can look at something on the outside, but underneath there's always so many more factors that no one really understands. And if I tried to get up here and explain everything to people, it still wouldn't be enough to explain why everything happened. And so there's always undercurrent. There's always different stories underneath. And so, you know, we read the paper and we see the news and we see this in the headlines, but in reality, what's really there? We don't know.
There's a lot of questions, certainly, that people have for a lot of people. When we come back in the break, actually, we're going to do this thing. It's sort of inspired by the Kurt Flood story. And that these days, this man wrote a book saying that the black athlete today is just a high-paid slave, regardless. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I think that we're all slaves to something.
You're talking about athletes or just people?
People. I think people, you know, they say that they use the word slavery. It's very strong language. But if you look at what a slave is, I mean, we're all a slave to something, you know.
It's about control, isn't it?
It's just about, well, it's about self-control, you know. It's about, in your life, find out what you're a slave to and fight against that slavery, fight against that oppression. You know, don't spend your time fighting against outer oppression when you don't deal with the inner oppression.
Certainly. We're going to get to that. Ricky, good to talk to you. Thanks for coming in, man. Ricky Williams, everybody. By the way, this Saturday is a big game. The Argonauts and the Owls are playing. It's at the Rogers Center. First place is up for grabs, my friends, and whoever wins doesn't have to play the Blue Bombers, which is just fine for them. Thank you very much. 3 o'clock Eastern Time, CBC Television, the Argos and the Owls. There may be local blackouts. Don't write a letter to me. Complain to the CFL. Lots more to get to on tonight's program, including this. On tonight's list, athletes who had it all and then threw it all away. And it's a bit of a loaded question, but how about this? Are black pro athletes millionaires or slaves? Or both?
As long as they kind of pay you and make sure you got your endorsement, that is okay.
Kenny versus Penny, do it up at the newsstand.
We're so screwed, the world's going to hell.
And next, the Clash are moving on up. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It ain't Black Sabbath if it ain't got Ozzy.
Life, death, tragedies, miracles. Fighting to make a difference while struggling to keep it together. The new one-hour medical drama.
Can you tube him?
Josie H. Fridays at 9 on CBC Television.
It's the 4-day home sale this weekend at the Brick. This leather sofa was $8.99. Sale price this weekend, only $4.99. Plus, you pay absolutely nothing for 15 months. I like keeping my money a little longer. Shop the online flyer at thebrick.com.
So it's I before E except after C. It's a rule, no exceptions.
What about beige?
Okay, one exception.
Or caffeine?
2.
Weird, efficient, neither. Feisty?
Rottweiler.
Who says you never drive off-road? The all-new Santa Fe from Hyundai.
We all have dreams, and no matter what that dream may be, there's an easy way to save for it right at work. How much you save is up to you. You can start with as little as $10 a week. And with no fees and guaranteed growth, Canada Savings Bonds are an investment that can help you take your dreams and make them a reality. Talk to your employer today about the Payroll Savings Program or visit our website. A message from the Government of Canada.
The Brick and Serta proudly introduce Counting Sheep for the Cure in support of breast cancer research. This specially designed sleep set features Serta's famous Perfect Sleeper technology. Plus, you receive these free gifts and a pink counting sheet, only at the Brick.
Get ready to go!
Stomp real proud now. Bend your knees if you please. Time to shimmy down. You got the moves, you got the know-how, you can do it too. Come on and go now.
Can Do turns tricky toilet tasks into tons of fun. So kids can do it too with Can Do.
Hey, what's the matter? I don't think my lungs asthma medication is working very well.
Let's get you to your pharmacist right away.
My pharmacist?
Of course. She can help you monitor your condition.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And if need be, she'll talk to your doctor about changing your dose or even your medication. Breathe easy.
Make your pharmacist part of your healthcare team. They're highly trained professionals who can help improve the quality of your family's healthcare.
We have to ask your husband some questions.
From the director of Clear and Present Danger.
Where were you that night, Patrick? I am innocent.
The threat was real.
Daddy! What kind of man are you?
The danger was everywhere.
Where is he? Where does he sleep at night?
And the story
You still want to go on?
is true.
My children, they will say he was a man who stood up for what was right. What will your children say about you?
Catch a Fire.
In theaters October 27th.
All right, you're back with the hour. Kenny versus Penny on the way, and our black athlete slaves. First, my friends, let's do the easy stuff. It's the news. to give you a warning here, okay? My first story is going to deal with Ricky Martin, and I'm unhappy about it just as much as you are. So I'm going to walk out of the screen, change the channel if you want, all right, and come back in about 40 seconds. Okay, if you're still here, that means you want to know. Ricky Martin! You know Ricky Martin, the Livin' La Vida Loca? Ricky Martin? I don't even know the melody, otherwise I'd sing it, and then I'd want to die. But Ricky has come to Madonna's defense over this whole adoption thing. He says that Madge is an exemplary mother and has a heart big enough to adopt 20 children, and I'm betting that Ricky is 100% correct about that. And then Ricky was asked if he'd like to adopt a child one day, and he answered, and I quote, "Totally. Totally? Totally." Pardon me for 1 second. God, hey, buddy, Strombo here. Listen, can you please have mercy on me and hold us adopt, please? And maybe have mercy on these kids, too. That'd be nice. Please. I'm about to talk about your enemy. Black Sabbath. Are you familiar with Black Sabbath? If not, quick history lesson. Brilliant metal band from Birmingham, England. Ozzy Osbourne was their lead singer. Had a bit of a problem with the glug, 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 so he got kicked out of Sabbath. They needed a new singer, and in comes Ronnie James Dio. Built like a troll, but the voice of an angel. So guess what? Dio was out, a couple other singers came in, eventually Ozzy came back, but now it looks like the guys in Sabbath, minus Ozzy, are hooking up with Dio again for a tour next year. But they're not calling themselves Black Sabbath because Ozzy's not singing, and without Ozzy, I'm sorry about it, just like Sabbath, but they're calling themselves Heaven and Hell, which was in fact the hit song for the guys back in the day when it was Sabbath with Dio singing. And I actually love this story because it's completely respectful. Are you hearing me, Axl Rose? Baby? What you're doing now isn't Guns N' Roses. It's called Axl and his 7 hired friends. If you really want Guns N' Roses, listen to Velvet Revolver. Speaking of great bands, what did I do? Scottish accent. It's not Scottish. Well, whatever. The Clash. 30 years ago, The Clash tore through Britain, North America, then the world. One of the most important rock and roll bands in history. And now they're being honored with an exhibit at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Finally! It opens on Saturday. Open till next April. If you get the chance, get your asses to Cleveland and pay honor to The Clash. Finally, your boy Nick Carter, who's apparently found the exit sign in obscurity. Now, he's running his mouth off about his ex-girlfriend, Paris Hilton. Here's what Nick says about Paris. That she was always smoking pot when they were dating, and he said she needed drugs and alcohol to give her confidence during sex.
Is there anything smaller?
Nick, buddy, a minute. You should be thankful that all Paris needed was pot and booze, because I'd have to be pretty drunk and stoned to f a Backstreet Boy too, okay? Well, except maybe for Brian. He always seemed like such a nice boy. Oh, and it goes downhill, huh? I'm not having sex with Brian, ever. Or any Backstreet Boy for that matter. Google Wayne County, kind of a transvestite artist from the 60s and 70s. Take a look at what her band was called. The Backstreet Boys. I don't think they knew that when they called themselves that. But shall we move on? I want to tell you about a book, and it's actually it's an interesting book which raises a very controversial subject. It's called $40 Million Slaves, The Rise and Fall and Redemption of the Black Athlete. There it is right there by a guy named William Roden. He's a columnist for the New York Times. What he says, basically, is that the sports industry today is kind of like a plantation. White owners, black labor. And this idea goes back to a baseball player, the great Curt Flood. Flood played with the Cardinals back in the 60s of St. Louis. There's that jersey right there. At the time, made about $90,000 a year, which was a good chunk of change. But in 1969, Curt refused to accept a trade. He described players as indentured servants and slaves. So check this. January 3rd, 1970, he's being interviewed by the great Howard Cosell, and Cosell says, $90,000 a year? Not exactly slave wages. Curt responds with this: a well-paid slave is nonetheless a slave. So Curt Flood files a lawsuit against Major League Baseball, goes to the U.S. Supreme Court. Curt lost. But it was that fight that opened the door to free agency. And the players today owe an awful lot to Curt Flood. But what about what he was talking about, indentured servants and slaves? And this book that we're talking about says that black players are slaves. Does it still hold? Well, our VJ Darby Wheeler had to speak to the man who wrote $40 Million Slaves. It's William Roden.
Where we are in 2006, with more black people doing better than ever before, is not the promised land, because there are more black people doing worse than ever before. And the NBA and the NFL are kind of a metaphor of that, of a lot of people doing well, but having no power. We're the only people, the only ethnic group, who routinely turn our stuff over to, you know, to white people or to who is associated with being your oppressor, or we've had this historic relationship.
White people.
With white people. Can I say that? Can I say that on camera? Can I say white people? Slavery is one of those jarring metaphors, but it's a metaphor that's probably a lot more appropriate than people might think. There were plantation boxers, there were plantation runners, there were plantation rowers, and there were plantation jockeys. The first story in the book is this boxer named Tom Molyneux, who was a slave boxer, and his owner bet the ranch that his best slave boxer could beat another plantation's best slave boxer. And he said, for the guy who volunteered, you get your freedom, you get $500, a suit of clothes, and you're out of here. So this guy, Tom Molyneux, volunteered. I'll do it. And he fought, won, and got off the plantation. We the only ethnic group that was brought here against our will for muscle. And that metaphor is still existing, like in the NBA. Your job is still to tote the bar, zip the bail. I mean, guys say, yeah, I'm making $10 million a year. I said, yeah, man, but who's paying you? If somebody's paying 15 of you, $8, $10, $50 million, how much money are they making? The reason that sports in the United States have taken off has been precisely because of black style. This whole new way of doing things, like Willie Mays, doing something simple like catching a fly ball. Instead of doing kind of like this, he did it like this. Dancing in the end zone. I mean, just things that people hadn't really seen. Just a flair, the way you do things. Ali, with the Ali shuffle, his whole thing. What style was, even going back to the plantation, style was a way of communicating. You'd be saying, yes, sir, boss. Yeah, I'm going to be right there. Yes, sir. We're going to take it right. And you were speaking a sort of coded language that all your people knew what you were saying. Or when you do certain things, when you wore a red kerchief, and that was a sign that tonight was the night we were going to try to escape. And I think even today, there's certain guys will do certain things, just certain ways of dribbling, certain things, and that it's almost like a parody and a sort of a mockery. So style has always been an unspoken form of communication. Although a lot of the mainstream people hated it, they loved it. And I think that's been the dilemma of mainstream white America to sports from the very beginning of integration, is that we love this stuff and we hate this stuff. I mean, the first time I heard somebody talk about slavery was a guy named Curt Flood. And Curt Flood in 1969 said, we're a bunch of workers on a plantation in this game. Here we've got a group of athletes, 70% in the NBA, 80%, 60 to 80% in the NFL, who've got all this kind of potential power, but they really have no power in those leagues. I mean, the blackest things about those leagues are those guys. And then here comes Curt Flood with this thing talking about we're on a plantation. They traded him, said, I'm not going. This is not a plantation. I'm getting off this plantation. I just think it has to be more of a concentration of how do we empower each other and ourselves from day one. But see, the problem is you've been conditioned on this conveyor belt to think that white people have all the power and should have all the power. And as long as they kind of pay you and make sure you got your endorsement and your shoe, that is okay. And we kind of have to get out of that thinking, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult. We have to challenge each other. So wait a minute, man, wake up. Who are you trying to empower?
I suspect what he means by that as well is that the remainder of the white players in the leagues are also slaves. I guess it has to be because they all play under the same rules. But certainly an idea that is not new, what he's talking about, but a very controversial one nonetheless. The Hour at CBC.ca. Hey, if you missed anything throughout the show during the week, or you just need to see it again, and how could you not? Sunday night, well, maybe you don't want to, I don't know, whatever. Sunday night, 11 o'clock, CBC Television, kind of a best of the hour, if you will. When we return, it gets ugly. We do this. Hey, see these two guys here? Well, they make a living trying to outdo each other. It's funny, it's dark, and it's insane. Kenny versus Spenny head to the newsstand. And in tonight's list, athletes who had everything and blew it.
CBC congratulates all of our 2006 Gemini Award nominees.
Hi, I'm Jill Deacon. Join me weekdays for my fabulous new talk show on CBC Television. We'll be dishing it out.
Very good.
So that's enough? That's it. Okay. Putting it on.
Wow. Yo. Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
and doing it up.
Let's get the party started.
Good stuff.
Can we snoop?
Please snoop away. Plus a whole lot of surprises. Come and see for yourself on The Jill Deacon Show. Weekdays at 11 and 2, starting October 30th on CBC Television.
Every day, countless Canadians find themselves in dangerous, even life-threatening situations. And every day, selfless men and women come to their rescue. The Royal Canadian Mint pays tribute to everyday heroes with a new 25-cent Medal of Bravery circulation coin. Find this special collectible in your change, save it, and honor our brave everyday heroes.
Out here, the only thing on your truck that should be rolling around are the wheels. Everything we've learned out there has gone in here. Introducing the 2007 Tacoma. Very powerful, very big. And with a tough dividable bed, very versatile.
We all have dreams. And no matter what that dream may be, there's an easy way to save for it right at work. How much you save is up to you. You can start with as little as $10 a week. And with no fees and guaranteed growth, Canada Savings Bonds are an investment that can help you take your dreams and make them a reality. Talk to your employer today about the payroll savings program or visit our website. A message from the Government of Canada.
If you vacation in Mexico or the Caribbean, there are any number of ways to contract serious liver diseases like hepatitis A or B. And the problem is, many of the people who get hepatitis A or B have no idea where they contracted it.
It's so beautiful.
So why take the risk? Ask your doctor about Twinrix vaccination, the only dual protection against hepatitis A and B.
How's my little grandson? How's my little grandson? Ooh, you're so baby. Rawr. Peekaboo! Who's got the biggest bear?
Enjoy unlimited everyday transactions with the BMO Bank of Montreal Performance Plan.
Defendant.
Yes?
Is there anything you would like to say in your defense?
Yes, Your Honor, but I feel so drained.
Bailiff, go and get him a glass of water.
No, please, not water, Your Honor.
Well, I can't get you champagne, can I?
Right, but I would like to have a Red Bull.
Oh, right, get him a Red Bull, whatever that is.
Thank you.
Now I'm asking again. Defendant. Defendant.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Back here.
Well, actually, Red Bull helps to temporarily restore mental alertness or wakefulness when experiencing fatigue or drowsiness.
Welcome back to the Hour, Studio 43, where we do our show every night. We'll go back in a second. I love how this one is always in tune, by the way. But I'm actually not here to play piano for you, at least not about that. I want to talk to you about holidays. And that's the funny thing about holidays. To me, they're really just a great weekend to spend time with your family, because the actual meaning is kind of arbitrary, right? Christmas and Easter, to some, it's about Jesus. To others, it's about a new pair of shoes or Easter eggs. Maybe it's a pagan holiday. I don't know. Do you celebrate Ramadan? Do you honor that? Is Kwanzaa your thing? Well, it doesn't apply to everybody, does it? But the one thing that's kind of universal, unless you're Amish and you hate this idea, is this one right here. My scary face. I'll talk to you about Halloween. It is coming up in days. God, like 5 days, in fact. And it's a great weekend because you got all these little kiddies that come to your house and they knock on your door and they're looking for chocolate. Now, I don't want to be that guy who sits there and says, let me tell you how you can live your life more ethically. Because whatever, do your thing. I can barely get through my own days, so you do whatever you want. But you might be that kind of person out there who says, maybe I'd like to be a little bit more ethical in the way that I shop. I just would like a little more information. Which is why we're here. This is Next Door to the Hour. Monday, brand new show on CBC. It starts 11 a.m. This would be a great rail. You can totally grind on this on a skateboard. It's the Jill Deacon Show, Monday at 11 on CBC. It's actually 11 and 2, right?
You've never been that tall.
I have not. How are you, Jill Deacon?
Good, how are you? The boy next door has
That's
come
right.
to visit.
That's right. I've always heard about the girl next door.
Yeah, it's me.
I am officially bad news, just so that you know.
Okay.
Don't tell your
My
husband.
mother warned me about you.
She certainly did. Jill's got the show on Monday. We'll talk about it in a second. But in terms of like ethically shopping, and not in the heavy-handed way, but in the way that people want options, this is a woman that I actually go to when I want some information about this, and fair trade chocolate.
Yeah, fair trade chocolate's a big one at this time of year because last year I handed out organic raisin boxes at the door, and I was probably the least popular mom in the neighborhood, so I'll probably get nobody at the door this year.
Mom, why do you gotta suck?
No, my kids are weird. They like that stuff. But this holiday in particular, I mean, Halloween's my favorite holiday. It's so creative. Sure. It's all about celebrating, you know, imagination and fun instead of all kinds of other stuff. But, you know, the one downer is the chocolate. Chocolate is, come on over here while we talk, because I've got to show you some samples. But traditional chocolate is made with some serious there's a bad story if you want to get into it.
Well, there's pesticides.
There's pesticides on there that is, you know, you don't even want to think about stuff that's banned in the U.S., but is in other circumstances is allowed in on cocoa.
Right, but, you know, you talk about, you know, certain people don't want to wear certain shoes or jeans because they're made in sweatshops, and a lot of chocolate.
Well, there's the fair trade issue, too, because chocolate is, child labor for sure. There's kids out working in the cocoa plantation. The Ivory Coast is the world's largest provider of chocolate, and there's supposedly 109,000 kids working, harvesting chocolate in what's been called the worst form of child labor. I mean, this is the chocolate that we're eating all the time, right? So it is something to consider. I'm with you. You don't want to be preachy about it, but you got to sort of state the facts.
Yeah,
right?
and you know, and it's again, if you want options, right?
And the good thing is there are options. So there's a good one now. You can get Coco Camino chocolate products in lots of stores, and you know, if you demand them, they'll be in even more stores. And you can order these little minis for Halloween at the website.
You better give like 5 or 6 of these because they're small.
Oh, I know. I'm going to have, believe me, I ordered a box of 100 bags.
What's on the show on Monday, your first show?
On the show on Monday, the first Jill Deacon show, actually another thing that sounds heavy, but it's also so inspiring, all about choices. It's kind of the theme of the show. There's a woman who's, believe it or not, almost 10 years ago, her husband was murdered by some teenagers down the road. The woman has befriended her husband's murderer.
Wow.
When he got out of jail, he comes with her on speaking tours, educating people about the power of, you know, making better choices and thinking about drinking responsibly and all kinds of stuff.
There you go.
Amazing stuff. Really inspirational woman.
Monday at 11 a.m. on CBC Television. GD.
Thanks,
Nice
GS.
to see you. Jill Deacon.
See you soon.
She's right
Come
next
by
door.
anytime.
We certainly will.
Adios.
This is her new set. This is nice.
Yep, it's good.
It's very. This is a great artist, painter from Toronto named Chris Langstroth. All right, so we're going to make a shift now from ethical choices to different choices when it comes to life. Earlier on the program, we had Ricky Williams, great NFLer, obviously doing his thing in the CFL right now until he goes back to the NFL. But a lot of people say he has an awful lot of natural ability and almost blew it. There are several athletes in the past who have had it and flamed out, and here is our list. All right, so we begin with Dwight Gooden, a.k.a. The Doc. At 19, he was a phenom, perhaps the most promising pitcher in Major League Baseball history. But drugs, well, drugs made him look like this. Kids, don't do drugs.
Oh, somebody pick my black ass.
U.S. college running back Maurice Clarett, gonna be a star.
State of Ohio versus Maurice Clarett.
But instead of running plays out of the shotgun, my man loaded a shotgun, and now he's facing 7 years for armed robbery.
And watch this.
The Boston Bruins, Derek Sanderson, Turk. Man was destined for greatness. Signed a huge money contract in a time when NHLers didn't get big money contracts. But drinking did him in, and he blew all the cash. It was the 70s, my friends. Everybody drank. It's just not that much. And how about Pete Rose, baseball's all-time leader in hits and games played?
There it is. Pete Rose does it.
But he got busted for gambling on baseball. And now the game's best hitter may never be in the Hall of Fame. No one to fold him, Petey. You blew it. And the #1 flame out for a professional athlete, oh, this guy used to be so good, Iron Mike Tyson.
220 pounds.
Heavyweight champ by the age of 20. Ferocious, powerful, insane.
For an athlete in the heat of battle to suddenly lose it, it's not new, but it's not right.
He wasted a $400 million fortune. How do you do that? I don't know, but sure, hell, I'll have to try. Give me $400 million. That's what I'll do. Mike Tyson, you want to know what he's doing these days? Vegas! Las Vegas. Where the hell else is he going to be, right? There's a ring that they set up there, and he spars for a little bit, and then he signs autographs and pictures. He was the heavyweight champion of the world, and his lifestyle has made him a chump. Sadly. But whatever. We still have the videotape. Still to come on the program is this. It's Kenny versus Spenny on Showcase. If you don't know Kenny versus Spenny, they're like these guys who are friends. I mean, they claim to be best friends forever, which I guess is interesting, except they've set up this environment where they just try to one-up each other. It's a game of who can outdo who can drink more beer, who can stay naked the longest, who's got the biggest balls. Seriously. That's what they do. If you haven't seen the show, here's one of their latest contests to try to make the other one laugh.
Did you see my boo-boo? I'm shy. Did you see me? Skipping in the park and played Big Maggie's Penny. He took and put in the boo-boo. And they go, ow! And they went, ow!
He's not even close to laughing.
Well, you're freaking creepy.
Can I say something? This is not who I am or what I do. I came up with this for him. It's not working.
Yeah, but you know what? You're like doing a friggin' humiliation and the competition is still going.
I've lost my character.
Look what you're doing. Look what you're doing to yourself. Is it worth it? Oh my God. I had nightmares for like a month.
I know what you're sitting and you're saying, what? So the guy dressed up and danced. They did an episode once where Kenny convinced Spenny that Spenny had AIDS. Yeah, right? They're going to have to invent more lines for these fellers to cross. Here's what happens when you take the greatest duo of all time, Kenny and Spenny, to the newsstand. Ken, Spen. Perhaps you might be familiar with them. We'll start with you.
Yes, I think Kenny's head should be on Kim Jong-il's, and who can stop him? Because apparently I can't.
You can.
No, it's unfortunate.
It's true. I think our show's a microcosm of, the world today.
Really? How so?
And society. Well, because Spenny thinks he's the good guy.
Only in relation to him am I a good guy.
Like relative to...
Yeah, but I think...
Hitler would be a good guy in relation to him.
I think our show's about, male relationships. And I think Kim Il-sung and George Bush, they have that exact same antagonistic relationship.
You think so? So who's who then?
I'm George Bush.
Is that accurate?
He's Hitler.
I'm not even going to comment into that weighting of evil.
Do you actually pay attention to the world?
Well, 100%. Yeah. I'm a total news addict.
I think that this exact image is the amount of information that's available in our society. Yeah. It's too much.
Is it?
And I don't think people have the skills necessarily to be able to cut through and see what's behind it.
Do you dive into this stuff? Do you pay attention?
I read Foreign Policy magazine because I think it's pretty balanced.
And the NAMBLA newsletter?
No, I don't. For the record, I do not read the NAMBLA newsletter.
There are those who believe that the fact that your show is doing as well as it is an example, or as it illustrates that apocalypse is in fact soon.
Okay, I can address that.
Yes.
Apocalypses might be a little strong, but I think that there's a trend in the culture, especially among youth, to worship the bad guy. In wrestling, for example, the good guy used to be the guy the crowd wanted to win.
Yeah.
10, 15 years ago, that dynamic changed. I don't think it's good. I think there'll be repercussions, cultural repercussions that aren't good, but I think he represents that.
Well, you're the bad guy, right?
Well, I'm a Darwinist. I'm into survival of the fittest, and I think a lot of these, magazines and.
But we live in a civilized world, Kenny, not.
Well,
not
we
in a
obviously
jungle.
don't. We live in a civilized world. Look at this stuff. This is all about making money. The only reason any of these books are here is because somebody wants to make money and send their kids to Harvard. That's it.
That's why you do what you do and why I do what I do, right?
Spenny's a rare breed that is not really as,
I'm not as
money motivated as I am.
I mean, our show, even though, I chew on his toenails and he eats my snot, I think that there's an underlying philosophical truth. That bad guys are cheaters or people who take shortcuts tend to prosper. And I think when people watch the show, I hope on some level they see the result of that mindset does to someone who doesn't think like that.
Spenny thinks I'm Enron. He does.
You are. No, you are Enron.
You clearly embrace the extreme part of your brain, the extreme part of this world, the extreme part of the audience. Has it ever got to a level where somebody had said or done something where even you thought,
I think this season I've actually gone a little over the top, maybe.
Oh really? One thing in particular, it was I had to actually call my lawyer, and if he ever does it again, I don't know if I can sue, I will.
You sue him?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
I can't say what it is, and I'm not being, dismissive. I just, we have, the shows are airing and we don't like to give away the stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, no, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but you know, the market right now with the content that we're competing with is, you know, kids jumping over cars on YouTube.
I don't care.
The content now, Jackass,
My life we're talking
Team
about.
America.
Well, how about this idea that the slapstick in the old days used to be the Three Stooges and the poke in the eyes and all that stuff, and then the slapstick for this generation is now zapping your nuts with a taser.
Every culture wanted to see someone's testicles zapped.
But
the
they
thing
couldn't.
is, yeah, but and the reason why it is now is because everything is so corporately money-driven that they will allow that to go on because they won't have any concern about what's good or bad for kids watching. It's more about how much money can we make. And if Jackass, which is the #1 movie in the U.S. right now, you know, is going to make that kind of money, sure, let's put a host up.
And would the Three Stooges not have zapped each other's testes if they had?
No, they wouldn't have.
Maybe.
You don't think they would have? They might have, actually.
Pol Pot was a big fan of that.
He was huge into that. Places we must save and talking with the environment. Our government has released their environmental plan. Do you pay attention to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Let them do anything. We're so. Can I swear?
You too,
we're so. We're so screwed. The world's going to hell. Like, fine, okay, let's do something with our cars. But you're talking about like China, and like India and Russia. The amount of shit that we have coming out now, like China's hitting an industrial boom that will blow. We could, I swear to God, we could all be flying around on like, you know, papyrus carpets. It's not going to make a difference. We are screwed. We're all going to hell. Enjoy it.
Do you share your best friend's view?
No, I actually don't know enough about it to comment. I think it's an important enough issue that I just don't know. I mean, I could sit here and pretend that I knew, but...
Nice to see you guys.
George, thank you so much.
George, thanks a million.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It always ends with Vote Kenny. You might think that's your shtick. That ain't your shtick. That is exactly who those guys really are. With Kenny versus Penny, you get what you get is exactly what you see. Here's what's coming up in the program next week. All right, perhaps we need some time apart, but just a short period of time. Before you go, check this out. Next week, I'll be hanging out with Jared Leto, Cardinal Official, Josh Groban, and your good buddy, the 5th greatest Canadian, David Suzuki.
Let the mud fly. An all-new Air Farce, Friday at 8 on CBC.
Maggie and I, you could say we have the same taste in shoes. Maggie, she looks at me with those eyes. She's so special. There are other shoes, but there's only one Maggie. Dinner time. With her taste, I just have to feed her Caesar. She loves the tender, meaty taste. Much better than this, eh? If there's one thing we know, it's great taste. Caesar. Love them like they love you.
Every day, countless Canadians find themselves in dangerous, even life-threatening situations. And every day, selfless men and women come to their rescue. The Royal Canadian Mint pays tribute to everyday heroes with a new 25-cent Medal of Bravery circulation coin. Find this special collectible in your change, save it, and honor our brave everyday heroes.
Richard Corliss of Time magazine calls it assaultive, deeply sick, and utterly irresistible.
Naughty, naughty. I go to America! Hello, nice to meet you. I'm new in town. Well, I want to say hello. Hello, my name is Bora. Careful, he bites. She is your wife?
No, that's my wife.
In my country, they would go crazy for these two. Not so much.
Borat. November 3rd, only in theaters.
The Lipton Just for Laughs comedy tour is back, bringing the world's premier comedy event live and in person from city to city across Canada. We're here. Aloha. Come join an amazing lineup of the funniest comedians from around the world, appearing in Montreal, Hamilton, Toronto, London, Ottawa, and Thunder Bay. For details, visit hahaha.com. There's going to be a few changes right here. The Lipton Just for Laughs comedy tour, leaving no city unfunny.
Can you imagine a world where safety has nothing to do with size? the impact-reducing Ace body structure in the new CR-V, only from Honda.
Music that makes you feel good at work. 97.3 Easy Rock.
What we're going to do here will change the course of the war.
Epic confrontations are on the horizon.
Even if we lose half the bombers we start out with, we'll still be ahead of the game.
Inspired by a true story, the two-part series, Above and Beyond. Sunday at 8 on CBC.
All right, that's it for the program. Thanks a lot for being a part of it tonight and for another week. I want to close it up with Wikipedia, world's biggest reference site. If you don't know Wikipedia, look at it. Dude named Timmy Wales is the founder, and he posted a question recently on the site. If you had $100 million to spend on something that has a copyright and set it free so that everybody could use it for $100 million, what would it be? Because right now, most information is private property, but this would open up the copyright so we can all share stuff. Wales says he has somebody who's in a position to give $100 million. So what do you want? He wants your ideas. What should be free? Email Mr. Wales. Email Wikipedia. It's one of those rare chances where you get to spend somebody else's money, and an awful lot of it. Go to Wikipedia, send in your ideas. This is your call to arms. You might as well answer, and don't forget the hour Sunday night at 11 o'clock on CBC television for this night and for this week, my friends. That's time.
Thanks very much, George. And you know what I'd vote for? Satellite TV. Yeah. Let's take a look at a system that's been pounding parts of Colorado with up to 18 inches of snow. That's about 2 feet of snow. Why is that of interest to us? Well, the forecast track of that moisture hooks up with Gulf moisture and then, slides it up towards southern Ontario. So as we go into the weekend, it could well be a wet and white weekend for parts of Ontario. Meanwhile, high pressure building its way through the Maritimes is generating generally fair weather. And it's really not too bad through much of the prairie provinces, although this finger of moisture continues to build its way into the west coast. So let's head out west first, shall we? Good chance of seeing showers, Vancouver and Victoria. Temperature's not too bad, though. And then as that moisture makes its way through the interior BC, up towards Alberta, some sleety, wet snow. Temperatures outside of Calgary, and once you get into sort of parts of Manitoba, generally a little below seasonal for this time of year. Winnipeg earlier on today getting up to 14 degrees, so tomorrow quite a bit cooler. Off to the eastern half of the country, Thunder Bay 8 degrees with a good chance of seeing rain along that front, but once we get into Toronto, Ottawa and Montreal, really not too bad. This is in advance of that Colorado system. The Maritime's quite fair, and St. John's should even see some sunshine. That's your latest forecast. I'm Claire Martin.
Ever since she was a little girl, she wanted to be a doctor.
Remember what you did to her bedroom?
I was just thinking about that the other day. We always hoped she'd be accepted. Sophie is a smart girl.
Yeah, Lois, but med school.
What a great opportunity. Oh! You must be very proud. The moment I saw the letter...
I gotta tell you, it was quite a day at our house.
Was she excited?
I got in.
I'd never seen her so excited. So, can we make this work? There is your education savings.
And her scholarship.
I could teach a little longer. Let's look at this. Here's your regular contributions. These are the recent changes we just made to your investments.
We'll be okay.
CIBC Financial Advisors help you do what matters today while still investing for tomorrow.
What?
Do you think Dr. Sophie will make house calls?
We have to ask him some questions.
If they arrested you without cause.
I told you, I'm innocent. You're lying.
If they threatened your family without remorse.
Daddy! What are you doing?
Release my wife!
How long would you take it without fighting back? Based on a true story from the director of Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games, Tim Robbins, Derek Luke.
I'm a man who stood up for what was right. What will your children say about you?
Catch a Fire. In theaters October 27th.
Subway Daytime Drama presents Hang Up. Action!
It's lunch. What are you in the mood for? Something different. Something... What's the word? Something fresh. Something... normal? No.
New, the word is new, as in Subway restaurants. Great tasting and, we stress, new seasoned steak sandwiches like the blackened Cajun steak, fresh toasted and sizzling hot. Subway, eat steak!
Good weekend?
So
Good. Went to Vegas, booked with Expedia.ca. What'd you do? Got together some old buddies, had a couple of drinks, great dinner, stayed in the sweetest hotel room, won a few bucks, went to the Wax Museum, saw some crazy acrobatic stream magic show, got freaky to Wicked Club, took a helicopter to the Grand Canyon, did a little shopping, went out at 11 p.m., got at 11 a.m. at a shiatsu massage, visited the Hoover Dam, went off-roading in the desert, met my future wife and got married.
Expedia.ca presents the fabulous Las Vegas extravaganza. With so many options, book your Vegas trip with ease. Expedia.ca. Your trip, your way.
Look your best, son.
All right.
It's dinner time at Montana's.
Whoa, where did they all come from?
Well, they came from miles around.
And the attraction is?
Well, it looks like she came for the herb-roasted chicken.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he came for the smokehouse ribs.
Smoking?
And them, well, they just came to escape the daily grind.
What about this guy? Down here.
I think he might have come to see you, son.
Really?
Yeah, but don't let it go to your head.
Sorry.
Montana's Escape to the Cookhouse.
These 5 people are worth over $500 million, and they're ready to start spending their own money on the best new business concepts they're pitched. Here in the Dragon's Den, cash-hungry entrepreneurs are waiting to pitch their business ideas and inventions. They think they can make millions, but they need money to get started. The Dragons are in their den, ready to invest their own cash, but only in the best ideas.
The rules of Major League Baseball on a DVD.
It's a first aid product. I'm asking for $100,000.
So who are our dragons in the den? Robert Herjavic's family came to Canada with $20. Today, he owns a 50,000 square foot mansion. Robert hit it big when he sold his first computer company for $100 million. His second went for $200 million. And there's no stopping this dragon. Now company number 3 is taking off. Jim Treliving used to bust bad guys as an RCMP officer.